you ever struggled with motivation? Because you do seem like you're pretty focused on what you do, but given the hideous weather that we're suffering in the UK, I know Warwick was very cold when we went today.
He was like, how have you been teaching outside today? I was like, it was warm today.
You were also inside.
I was inside, outside.
And you had a heated blanket plugged into the wall. You told me about that.
I did say it wasn't on today.
Okay.
We all face that daily trauma of it's too wet, it's too cold, it's too hot. But no, I have rarely struggled with motivation, I have to say.
For me, it's not motivation on a day-to-day basis. It's motivation on a... I'm going through a stage at the moment. I had my full Liberty team of 10 horses, all fully trained, and then I've got to do about 5 years just cruising along with these horses, easy, just building the act. But now I've got to a point where some of those boys are getting a bit older. Some of them are going to need to retire, maybe travel a bit less. My horses don't retire when they're broken. They retire healthy and then have a steadier life, and then they stay. I don't want to push them that far, so then I have to start introducing my younger horses. And it's not that I don't love training a young horse from, I've got 5 horses, 5 fresh ones this winter between the age of 2 and 4 that I'll be working on, through the next few years. And genuinely, I've done this before where I'll sort of buy a 3-year-old and I'll have it on the farm 6 months before I do anything with it. I'll sort of look at it in the field. And when I say do anything with it, I've scratched it in the field and done all of that. I've done all the Instagram stuff, but not actually done anything with it. And it's because I genuinely, and maybe this is a really weird psychology thing, I'm very pictures in my brain. I really picture things. And I can see myself stood on the shore, on the seashore, stretching my neck, stretching my arms, looking at this ocean, and there's a tiny island in the distance. And it's like there's a little voice that says, "Are you ready? Because when you jump in with this youngster and you start this, you see this through. You don't start him and then abandon him halfway through. So you're swimming that ocean again. Are you sure you're ready to do this again?" And so that I can get a motivation block. So I'm like, I was teaching Piaffe Passage transitions at Liberty on a 20-metre circle, and it's back to hind quarter yields and trying to figure out why its brain does that when it sees a leaf, and
But then when you actually start doing it, you love it.
Yeah. But it's this the adjustment. It's the and all that about it. Can it do it at home? Yeah. How long does it take them to do that at a show consistently? Again and again. And I'm not saying I dislike it. I love it. I love that thing. But it's just a little bit really see it in my mind, ready to jump in the water. And it's we're going. So that's probably where I struggle with my motivation. And I think maybe as well, if I wanted to really pick my brain apart, part of that is the psychology of the loss of the older horse. Even though the old horse is in the same field grazing, it's oh wow, that's gone. Where me and you aren't going to Hoys anymore. Me and you aren't performing in those shows anymore. And it's kind of it's a weird transition. So that would be where my motivation problems come.
I'm glad you said that, Ben, because does anybody here struggle with that motivation for the same reason? Starting something, it's if I start this, it's going to be a big, long thing. And that I think people like Ben sharing something like that really helps people, because I'm sure there was someone sitting out there while Ben was talking going, "Oh, it's not just me. Ben Atkinson has that too." And, I have a podcast, and Ben's been on the podcast, but one of the cool things about the podcast is having really inspirational people share stuff like that, because then people realise, oh, I thought they just had it easy, and I'm the only one who's ever felt this way. I wrote a book a couple of years ago, and, it took me 5 years to write the book. But I got stuck. I had it almost finished, but I kind of got stuck. And then I had a podcast guest tell me about a book called The War of Art by a guy named Stephen Pressfield. So that's not The Art of War by Sun Tzu. The War of Art. And it's about the war, the internal struggle with mostly writing. This guy was a writer, and he talks about there's a word that I can't think now that you're all staring at me, but it's you get stuck. And I was stuck, but after I read that book, I realised that, everybody gets stuck and it's normal to get stuck. And then I realised I hadn't actually been stuck. I'd been beating myself up because I was stuck. And it was more beating myself up than being stuck. And once I realised everybody has that resistance, what he calls it, the resistance. And once I realised that everybody who's written a book has the resistance, the stuckness went away. And so if you guys have got some resistance, maybe what Ben just shared with you might help you go, it's not just me. And I think a lot of times the "it's just me" story overpowers the other part of the stuckness. And once you can get rid of that, I think you can maybe, head off on your journey.